having a baby, and I love this, as the moment when you felt your creative impulses sparking again, and I love this quote. I made a human and I figured, how hard could a handbag be? You now, I think it's brilliant. You now have 3 children, Edie, Oscar, Teddy, and Teddy's birthday is on 4/20, which is like, did you plan that?
I did. I will tell you a quick story if I may.
Yes, of course.
First of all, Teddy is turning 8, and he'll tell people, it's like, my birthday's on 4/20. Haha, do you know what that means? He is 8. It's so inappropriate.
That's great. That's so great. That gets to my next question. Like, how do you talk to your kids about what you do, and are they impressed? They think you're a cool mom? Like, my mom always thought she was a cool mom.
Yeah. I mean, like Amy Poehler style.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
rather be drinking inside the house. Do you say rather be smoking weed inside the house?
I mean, look, I think they think I'm cool because I'm fairly chill with them.
Right.
But I still, it's super Barney of me, and forgive me, but I still think there's not a lot of research on what happens to people's brains before they're fully developed. So I'm not like, yeah, here's a joint. Like, I think they should wait. I know that they will try it, and that's fine, and we're super open about it. And obviously there's like the alcohol analog, like we've always, had drinks in front of our kids. We have paraphernalia and weed all over the house. But no, I don't think that they should be getting high early.
Right. No, and I think it's so interesting because your company, Edie Parker, is named after your first daughter, Edie. And so the growth, they're both teenagers right now. And I was watching an interview you did, and this advice you gave to young people was, you said something, find a niche that I want to talk about in a bit, but also focus on one thing and make it great. Is why do you think that's so important for people to really hone in on that one product at first?
Just as a career.
I mean,
I just think there's a lot of shit in the world. I think that it's good to do something that you think doesn't exist or something that you're super passionate about, and I think it's unrealistic to think you will be everything to everybody and every consumer and solve a lot of problems. So for us, when we started, I collected vintage acrylic bags, and they didn't exist in the market, and so I thought, I'll do that. Was that a picture?
Yeah.
Well, that's great job. There was just this thing that I loved, that people loved when I wore it, so we did that. And then once we got a customer base and an aesthetic that people responded to, it was easier to do other things. But I just think to launch something and think you should do everything is unrealistic.
Right. And that aesthetic is what I'm obsessed with. You mentioned the acrylic bags, and what I love about it, it's paying homage to the 50s. They're also made the same way they were made back in the day. American made, yeah! When did I become so patriotic all of a sudden?
So MAGA.
I know, so MAGA. As you can tell, you know where I'm at. How do you balance that homage to this aesthetic that you love so much, but also putting your modern taste in it, your view on it?
I mean, I just think it's there's an aesthetic that's obviously vintage inspired, but it's what do I want that doesn't exist now, or what's just that ethos of things that are really they're romantic, they're nostalgic, but they're fun, they surprise and delight. They're just I always am quoted, just saying that life is very serious, to your earlier headlines.
Yes.
Your accessories don't have to be, your smoking things don't have to be if you're gonna buy something, make it fun, make it joyful.
Yeah. And I was looking at your website today, your boobs on drugs line is, I'm obsessed with. Can you explain inspiration behind it? Oh, and Jenna Lyons, the reboot of Roni. Pre-reboot. Oh, okay, pre-reboot. Can you explain this incredible line and why it's so great?
Sure. Well, I think it's funny.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there's that. Obviously, it pays homage to the old PSAs about this is your brain on drugs.
Yep.
And basically, obviously, we're speaking at a very fast pace, and I'm getting that this is very fast, so I won't go that far into it. But obviously, this war on drugs conceived by Nixon in the 70s has horribly affected communities of color, and I think that most people working in cannabis today are very aware of that sort of burden and try to give back in any way that they can. So this is our program where a portion of proceeds always goes to, we started a foundation when we launched, and we support, because Edie Parker is named after my daughter and I'm a mom and we're all women in the team, that it's we try to support women and children whose lives have been affected by low-level drug offenses. So this t-shirt, this bag, this collection always supports mostly the Women's Prison Association.
Yeah.
But in general, we just think it's really funny. Great.
Well, I love how you're intertwining social justice with it, but I was curious because it's even when we were on the street, it was really hard to talk to people. There is still this stigma, even though it's legalized in New York. Did you ever feel this would just be too much to beat? I don't know if I can do this. I'm overcoming what you just said, this war on drugs for the past 60 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're very realistic about where we sit in cannabis and what our value is, and it speaks to that exactly, which is I know we're not heritage growers. We're not people who have paid the price. We haven't had family members who have been incarcerated. What we are is a fashion company. We started as a fashion company, and what we think we contribute is just a different perspective. We think our we're not esoteric strain people. We're just like people who are contributing to the normalization. We make fun accessories. We make cannabis in beautiful packaging. We're like, not the highest THC percentage. And so we think that just expands the conversation and that helps with destigmatization. And it's important. You can't just be speaking in an echo chamber to the same people with the same, growers. And so that's, how we think that we can be helpful.
And I mean, in the past 14 years, you and what I also was impressed by that you've educated yourself. You said something like fashion's fashion, but like cannabis, you actually have to go to college to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And what's now it's legal medically in 38 states, recreationally 24 states. Where do you see the future going with cannabis and fashion? Do you see there are companies that are going to tap into this soon?
I mean, I think cannabis is very much a part of the culture. It's poised to be the biggest job creator in this country, the biggest tax revenue generator. So, of course, fashion at its best is reflective of what's happening in culture. And you can sort of trace fashion to trends that are political. So yeah, I think that certainly more brands will enter the space, and already you see it with ready-to-wear and with fragrance and beauty. But until it's legal internationally, which we are so far from, I don't think big fashion brands will participate in any meaningful way.
And you mentioned it before, the foundation that your company is a part of, and I think it gets lost in the conversation with the MAGA right of like DEI and social justice and whatever. But honestly, I think consumers do like these companies kind of getting involved in social justice. Do you think that's very important now when people are starting new companies? Think about, okay, how can I find a way to organically give back?
I think in cannabis it's essential. And I would say it's one of the great things about working in cannabis. I don't think there's a cannabis company that exists that doesn't recognize what came before and people who paid the price for all of us to be participating in this.
And we'll get to it later when you see the video with the travel agency, the importance of buying legal because of that, because they do give back. Okay, well.